up, everybody? It's Aaron here with Get Your Geek On, and we're doing interviews throughout this whole month to basically shed the spotlight on everyone here at YouTube from San Antonio. This week, we actually have Vince Guzman and Colleen from Geek Out SA. You've seen Vince on a couple other episodes this past couple weeks ago. And so now we're bringing them on to do a little interview about Geek Out SA. So first of all, I want to say thank you for being here, guys. I really appreciate y'all coming on.
Yeah, it's great to finally get to be on, unlike somebody who's been on a few times.
We'll see. Well, now you're here too. And once I get a better microphone set up, you'll be able to come by our place and, record there too.
There you go. Nice. Sounds good. Sounds good.
So, tell everybody about Geek Out SA. And I also want to know, what got it started? I don't think we actually ever talked about that before.
So it's a funny question. Because, okay, so
first of all, people have to know that we're husband and wife. So we have to preface this with we're husband and wife. So
yeah,
when this started, it was regular husband and wife dynamic, right? So he's like, I'm going to start this YouTube show. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure you are. Okay, honey.
But the original thought behind it is we also, as a husband and wife team, we also make tabletop games. And I thought, what a great way to advertise my tabletop games on a geeky show. Mm-hmm. And really tacky way of going about it to do it. And it just evolved into way more than we thought it was.
Well, the more we talked to people and the more we met people through conventions and through our games and through the show, the more we realized how much certain types of fandom get kind of squashed by other types of fandom, and how people aren't necessarily very willing to step outside of their type of fandom so much. It's gotten better over time, but when we were doing this was one of the things we started to kind of highlight was, anime is not as bad as you think it is. Tabletop gaming is not as bad as you think it is. Reading comics is not as bad. So that's why we try to talk about all of those different aspects so that people can see that they can dip their toe in those fandoms. Because
a lot of the groups out there kind of get in their little silos. So I only play with, because it even goes into sub things. I'm only into miniatures games. Mm-hmm. But there's card games, there's board games, and there's a whole lot of other things within just the genre itself that there's a lot more that you can do than just that.
And when we started doing this, there wasn't all of these shows on Netflix and stuff that show cosplayers in a better light or that show nerds in a better light. So we wanted to kind of get that out there as well, too, because we grew up in that generation where basically being a geek, you were kind of like the lower class pariah, at school. And so we kind of wanted to get that out there as well. So not that we've caused this revolution where geekiness has, gotten better for everybody, but it's been nice to see over the years that happened.
That it's been more mainstream than it has before.
Yeah, it's become very mainstream over the last, about 15 years or so, maybe I would say even. And that's even kind of pushing it because I know we got Superman Returns in 2006, but then Iron Man didn't come out till 2008, I think it was. So it's kind of the big push for it. So I mean, it's so cool that you do guys. I know you guys bring on cosplayers, you bring on other YouTubers. You've had a lot of different people on your show. I'm gonna kind of ask this, and I'm gonna put you on the spotlight. Who's been someone that you've been the happiest to talk to or have on the show or interview?
Well, I think for Vince, it's been Stan Lee. Vince has gotten to talk to Stan a couple of times before he passed. And he was such a sweet, nice old man. Does it have to be a celebrity? Because I mean, I like celebrities, they're okay, but we've made some really good friendships. So my favorite is the urban journalist, Alejandro.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay. He has become a really good friend of ours through this and through us talking to him about his documentary and stuff like that, and just getting to know him and what he's doing here in San Antonio. And also Destiny, who works so hard. I mean, she's just such a hard worker and out there, really trying to get her movies going and stuff.
Oh, yeah, Christmas Slasher, yeah.
Yeah. I think just people like that in San Antonio who are just out there, putting in the work and trudging away I don't know. We've met so many interesting people. Like we've gotten to know Philip Nelson.
Yeah.
And he's I know you know him too. We're hoping to get John Guerra on the show. I'd like to kind of get to know him and stuff. I don't know. It's just been really great to know all of this is happening in San Antonio and there's all these talented people that work so hard.
Yeah. I'm even friends with Nitro.
Oh, that's right.
From American Gladiators.
Oh, nice.
I still talk to him every now and then. But I had him on the show a long time ago, and that was really cool.
I think the nicest one too was Sam Jones.
Sam Jones
is always so nice to you.
He is like the most awesome interviewee ever.
Yeah. And he's so like down to earth and he's such a family guy and everything. And like once you interview him and talk to him, he adds you on to his Facebook and you get to see like what his family's doing and stuff. So it's kind of, he's like a cool, he's like a really cool, like chill kind of nice guy. So that was cool.
That's really cool. I never knew that.
Yeah.
I want to meet Sam
We've
Jones
had some
now.
adventures.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you, what is it that you geek out about? Like, who's your favorite like hero? I guess we'll go with that. Like, who's your favorite superhero, heroess? I mean,
Superman.
Superman. Okay. I mean, figures for him.
Yeah.
Superman.
I'm a Ninja Turtles girl, so I love Donatello. I always love the smart ones. I'm a science teacher, and so I'm just kind of a nerd, an intellectual nerd at heart. So for me, Donatello
and
is
she married a smart one, so.
Where is he at?
I'm kidding.
Aaron's like, where?
Where'd he go?
Him on?
And Vincent's like, I killed him, and now I'm her husband, so be quiet.
I mean, brains, bronze, that works.
Yeah.
Either way. So I'm going to ask you, Colleen, have you been reading or have you read the Last Ronin?
I had wanted to, and I thought I had put it in my box for my comics and it wasn't in there. And so so my youngest told me he had a copy of it for me to read, but he just moved to College Station and we got busy with all of that. And so I still haven't read it. But, so do I want to read it? Yes. Have I gotten around to it? No.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have Comixology app on my phone. But I'm old and weird and I don't really like to read on my phone. But if it comes down to that, I totally will. I'll just buy it and it'll be in my library.
Exactly. That makes sense. So perfect. So I'm going to start with you, Vince, on this one then. So what makes you like Superman? What draws you to that character, if you don't mind me asking? Going that way.
So, I mean, it's just getting to see that in the theater when it first came out was just like amazing that I got to, because that's where after I saw that movie, I was just like, oh, I want to be Superman. My grandmother sewed me a cape out of satin.
Cool.
So, and that I still have.
We still have it.
I still have it in my closet.
From
it's
the
so
little
tiny.
boy.
Yeah.
Oh.
He used to run around in.
So
that's cute.
I was just so drawn to it because it was something that I was never really exposed to that much. So when I saw it, just like, this is so amazing, I was like, why isn't there more of this out there?
Yeah. Okay.
Because even there was a big long time even after that where that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, unless you were a comic reader or something. And even then, like we were saying, you used to get the comics in the Sunday paper when we were kids. And so he and I would read the Spider-Man even then. Because a lot of parents back then didn't know, didn't expose their kids to comics or didn't know to take them to the comic book store or anything.
I didn't know there was anything like a comic book store until like my freshman year in high school.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I had never been exposed to that until high school.
And my dad was an artist. So we had a lot of comic books, but he liked like Westerns and Conan the Barbarian.
Okay.
So he had a lot of that kind of stuff in the house. I don't remember them taking us to like a comic book store or something to get comic books again until I was like a freshman in high school. And then some of my friends from school like took me, and that was where so I had read comics before, but none of these like superhero-esque type things. Like we used to read Prince Valiant.
Okay, that works. So what got you into the Turtles, the TMNT?
Well, so they came about when I was a little bit older, and they were really dark and gritty. And it was in that phase, that teenage, like angsty kind of phase in my life. And then, so this is such a dark thing, but I thought it was cool just a little bit, and I was explaining it to like one of my aunts and uncles, and they were like, that sounds stupid, like turtles that are ninjas. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna show y'all, that's the coolest thing in the world. And so, so it kind of started with that, and then like kind of snowballed from there to where it was like, and I was like, oh, I kind of really like these guys. And they were like really dark and gritty at first, like black and white, like killed people kind of stuff. But I did like the progression. And then when our kids were little, the movies, I thought the movies, they did pretty well with the live action movies. I thought they had a pretty good vibe to them and stuff. So I kind of enjoyed it through that trek that they went through. So yeah, I like it. Now I don't like Raphael.
He's now the new Nickelodeon stuff.
Ooh, I hate the square-headed ones. No, I'm not a fan.
No, I like my kiddo. Because I'm a Turtles fan, and she got into Turtles, but she liked that blocky looking one, like in the early mid 2000s or whatever. And I didn't care for the artwork, but I love the stories. The stories what kept me like, okay, I'll keep watching it. So I was like, okay, I can deal with it. But now they have that new cartoon one, and I'm like, no. Neither one of us watched the new cartoon one. We're like, no, we don't. No.
And I really wanted to like the new movie because I try to go into like these remakes of things and just see it as their own art form. But it was tough for me.
Oh yeah,
it was tough.
I liked it.
You did, and I tolerated it, but I was just like, it just wasn't quite right.
Exactly. Did you ever watch was it Turtles Forever, where it's like all the different generations in the movie?
Oh no,
Yeah, so there's one where they go with the old 80s, like 90s cartoon one, then it goes to the old black and white, then it goes to the early 2000 cartoon, and it follows like all the Shredders. And it basically shows how the black and white is like universe zero, and how this one Shredder's trying to kill it so that way he could destroy all the turtles.
I always wanted to have a Doberman named Shredder.
Yes.
And he would just be like, oh.
You got to dress up as Shredder after that, though. Like, you have to. Put a little purple cape on him and everything. That'd be so cool. So where do you want Geek Out SA to go? Like, are y'all going to keep doing what you're doing, or are you going to try to do more with it? What do y'all want to see yourself doing in a couple years with it?
Well, we have a bunch of ideas, a ton of ideas. We just come to a point where we don't have time to execute some of these ideas.
Yeah, like we don't really play video games the way we used to. I mean, I'm terrible at them to begin with, but I at least still kind of play. And Vince, we probably should have put on Twitch him playing
Fallen Order,
because that was really good. Yes. But we go through these kind of spurts where we'll have a little bit of time, we'll become obsessed with the game. He and I have a Diablo problem, so whenever the Diablo comes out, we're like Diablo like crazy, like night after night after night. We'll like miss our TV shows, like staying up too late, like that kind of thing. And then we'll kind of burn ourselves out. And then but I would love for us to have more like video game segments, more comic book segments, because I don't read, I read sporadically. Just more segments with more people. And I wish we could get more people to come on and talk about like what they do.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That's what we're looking to do, is to hopefully kind of branch out and maybe get some people who would be like correspondents maybe or something and kind of help us out. We've tried a few times and unfortunately we don't monetize. So this is free. So it's not like people want to just go basically work, because I don't think kids out there realize that doing a YouTube show is kind of work. So they don't want to go work for free after they've been at work all day,
Because when you're doing it and you're doing the show, everything looks easy and it's going fine, but it's all this stuff that happens beforehand just to get to that point that just makes it crazy. Well,
and people don't realize you're kind of reporting on something, right? And this, Aaron, because you've done this before. So you're playing the video game and stuff, but you're trying to think of, okay, how am I going to report on this? What's the gameplay like? What is this like? I have to do a couple of like a little research on some articles of what some other people have thought so that I can bring in those opinions. So it's not just sitting there and playing and have fun anymore. It's like doing a job.
It's a job.
Especially when you're trying to entertain while you play.
Right, yeah.
Like, I just died 100 times because I was too busy talking to you guys.
Right, exactly. So would we like to branch out and do more stuff? Yeah. Do we know if that's going to happen? No, we've tried it a few times before, so we'll see how it goes.
Because right now, I think, which is kind of a good thing for us, we've kind of gotten really burned out on conventions. So now that nobody's really having any conventions, it's been kind of nice to not have to do anything. But I don't know. I'm kind of like,
well, we're running out of things to talk about because of COVID, so it's
that
getting
too.
like
That's getting kind of crazy too.
yeah.
There's stuff out there, but when I'm going through stuff, I'm usually picking stuff that interests me, because
Yeah.
if it doesn't interest me, it's harder to fake that, because if you're not interested in it, it's going to show.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to try to fake that. And I don't like to do that if I don't have to.
Yeah, so sometimes I'll tell, like, we're talking about like what are we going to do on the show for the week, and I'll be like, oh well, we could do such and such a thing, and he's like, no, we're not doing that.
Like, nah.
And I'm like, but it's like current and relevant, and he's like, no.
Nah,
I'm not feeling it.
I'm not feeling it.
And they're just like, there are also things that have happened, but there's not things that'll happen that we can talk about for 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's another thing that we have to think about. We get lucky sometimes with getting some segments that are kind of a little deeper, go deeper into like how you feel about certain things within the geek community.
Mm-hmm.
And those work out really well. And we usually get a lot of views off of things like that.
Okay. And, we'll kind of start wrapping it up a little bit, but I want to ask one thing. So for each of you, what's been the one thing that you've loved about doing all of this? Like, what's the one thing that's like, you know what, this is the one memory I love and I'll always cherish kind of thing? Make you think.
I mean, I think for me, because I've come into this experience kind of kicking and screaming, like Vincent's drugged me through this, and I'm like, please, oh my God, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. I hate it. But sometimes I really love it. And I just love like the people that we've gotten to meet, that we get to know, that we get to spend some time with, and like our producer who we hang out with, and we have a friendship with. So I think it's that sense of community that I like more than anything out of this. And then like people have come up to us in the past and they've been like, oh my God, like I know y'all are Geek Out SA. And like, we were at a convention one time and this guy was like, well, I really appreciate your show. I can watch it with my daughters, because I'm a school teacher. And so we make sure that we keep everything, a certain way, because some of my students watch. Right. And so it's just nice to know that it's something that people can kind of get their geeky news from, that they can watch as a family. Yeah. So those are good things for me.
I think for me, I was an introvert, a big introvert, and it kind of pulled me out of being that to being more of an extrovert. I don't know how it happened. Just talking to different people, and who would ever thought someone like me was going to get to speak to like Stan Lee or Sam Jones or any of them. Mm-hmm. But I was able to do that, and I could like, if I ended the show tomorrow, I would be happy to know of all these things we've accomplished on this show from nothing, almost. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, I do want to thank you guys for being here and chatting with me. And everybody, I guess, can just find you on YouTube. Geek Out SA is the quickest way to look y'all up, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And thanks so much for having us on. We appreciate it. Yeah, this is great.
Appreciate it. Well, thank you guys. And remember, guys, if you want to hear anyone else interviewed, or if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments. And always subscribe. Go to Vince's channel and Colleen's channel, Geek Out SA, link in the descriptions. And y'all have a great